Okay, cat is in position. 3, 2, 1. That's weird. Why is that off-centered? Hi! Oh my god, setting this up has been a bit of a nightmare. Welcome to the 1,000 subscribers special Q&A, I guess. I'm calling it that now, even though that wasn't the original plan, because what I had originally was it was going to be a big update video on everything that I was doing, and then I got way more questions than I anticipated. I asked people, I said to people, I was like, you can ask up to 3 questions if you want. That was how few questions I anticipated. And I got so many that a lot of them actually answered the questions that I was going to be, like, saying. They covered what I was going to be talking about in the actual, like, presentation. So I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll just cover briefly the stuff that wasn't in the Q&A. And then just go straight to the Q&A. I literally have like 3 slides here. This is a Google slide presentation. So let's do that. Also, I don't know if you heard me babbling at the start, but it's a little bit off-center for some reason. But anyway, carrying on. So yeah, why is that like that? I have no idea. But anyway, what that says at the top is commissions. I'm basically going to talk about how you can give me money first. So, if you're on Newgrounds and you follow me on Newgrounds, you've already seen this part, which is pricing range. I was following the formula that a lot of people do, where they're like, oh, if it has X amount of characters, it will be, like, adding $20 or so to every single time, depending on what you want for the background and stuff. That has not been working for me lately. I've just been, like, either undercharging or overcharging, or it just wouldn't seem right to me no matter what I did. So I'm basically operating on a vibe right now. So we're gonna be testing that out and see how that goes, but I don't want people to like not know how much they're gonna have to pay. So range is typically between $40 to $200. Like $40 is like for small gigs, and then $200 is like if you want a big piece. Most of the time, 200 is like, well, not for a big piece. 200 is like for a big job, and then like typically like 75, 100 would probably be for like the standard like big art piece or something like that. So yeah, and also I decided I wanted to start offering Foley and sound design, which I've done before, for money, for like a Warrior Cats AMV, I remember, and then also voice acting. I want to get more into that, and I know I don't have much to show right now because I don't really have like a demo reel, so to speak, because I've been doing Life of Fi and that's it. But I have been doing voice acting for a long time, and the reason I started doing Life of Fi, or one of the reasons, was for voice acting. So like, what other way to start like getting stuff done than like actually doing it, like offering to do it, is basically what I'm saying. And for the Patreon thing, I realized that the subscription-based model was a terrible idea. You know, you live and you learn, I guess. But basically what I want to do now, instead of having project updates in Patreon, I just can't keep up with that, I guess. It takes time for me to go out of my way to make update videos and stuff. And that's a whole just delaying the projects in and of themselves. So I've decided that instead I'm going to be selling assets and stuff. Hi, Editor Techno here. It's literally the next day. I poorly explained it in the video, so I'm going to try it again. This is like the 4th take. So what I'm doing is I am uploading paid access to specific packages of assets and stems and the likes of that from tracks and projects and animations and stuff like that that I make, so that people can learn from them. There's also going to be bonus materials for certain tracks like scores and MIDI files, so that people can take them, put them in their own softwares, and then learn from them, analyze them, or if I even have stems in case people want to remix them or just experiment with them or sample them or anything like that. Right now, I just made a test post on Patreon. There is a basically sample package of Strong Enough. that's on there on Patreon for $4, 4 USD. So if that's something you'd be interested in, go check it out. Thank you. The whole point is I would rather make public updates to my projects rather than just putting it behind a paywall, because I want people to know that I'm making progress. I actually genuinely do. And speaking of those projects, I know I have a couple. There was a couple that most of you guys don't know about, which is the Bunnies Code, which is the security breach project. It was originally going to be animated. But the problem with that wasn't the workflow. The biggest problem was actually, I had a plot idea, but I had way more jokes. I had way more jokes, and the plot, I was trying to, like, build them all together, but I couldn't, so I'm, like, thinking, like, I couldn't get it to flow in a good way, so I'm, like, thinking, okay, we're gonna do a silly, funny comic strip instead, and have the plot be, like, subtly hinted behind it, but it's mostly just some goofy jokes, most of which have to do with a daycare attendant. Go figure. Like, oh, bias towards my favorite character, who cares? But there's that. And Smash Legends tribute tracks. I'm gonna talk to the Smash Legends folk for a second. I uninstalled the game, unfortunately, because I have not been playing it, and I missed the story, guys. I missed the story before everyone got fired. I'm really sorry. I do. And they haven't, like, they've been adding a lot of new characters and stuff, and they've been doing collaborations and stuff, which is great. But they have, I can't remember the last time there was a new map. Maybe there was recently, and I just haven't heard about it. But, like, I'm losing the substance. I am losing it, and it sucks because I love what we've already established. I genuinely still do. And so, for the people who would be interested in, like, the clips and stuff, that's gone. I'm sorry. And I know that's crazy to say on a 1,000 subscriber special. I'm gonna be frank with you. I do anticipate that number to go up and down. But I'm just glad that I hit it once at all. So nobody freak out. However, on the good news, I did, in my chaos, find some basically finished tracks. Like, I literally just have to, like, mix them and stuff, and they will be good. And maybe I'll make art for them as well. Which brings me to my next thing, actually. So, where is it? Oh, there it is. A big music update's coming right now, and you would be able to tell if you were reading at the top of the thing. But it's cut off. But, if you can figure this out from this disc-shaped thing here, I am not releasing physical CDs. It had never occurred to me that might actually be what that looks like. But I've decided that, you know, I make my own artwork for my music and stuff, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of tracks actually have not been able to release, is because I don't know what to make for the art. And so basically I made some placeholder art so that the music can come out early on Newgrounds and Bandcamp. So that, like, this is, like, supposed to be for the audio portal. That's what this is. And so you guys will be able to hear that music. I know, again, ironic, not able to do that on YouTube, because I can't edit the art on YouTube, unless I guess re-release it. Maybe I might release it early on YouTube. Fuck it. I don't care. Like, maybe some tracks just don't have artwork to them. The Smash Legends tribute tracks probably should, though. But, like, everything else, any original track, and if I can't think of art ideas for it in time before to release it, like, within reason, then I'll just do this. I'll just use this placeholder art, and I don't know, maybe someday I'll, like, repost it or something like that with updated artwork. I'm no stranger to that. We could do that, but basically that's just me just saying I want to upload my music more often, and I'm tired of, like, having to be like, well, I can't do it yet because I haven't made the artwork for it yet. I don't care. Like, that's what the big change is. So I do have a new track coming soon called Urban Exploration. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's gonna be a fun one. And I'm pretty sure that was it, actually, for the update. It was. Okay, holy crap. Here we're here. It's time for the Q&A. So, let's see. What do we got here? Alright, I decided when I took these questions to organize them based on their subject, and I didn't write down who asked what. I remember some of them, but ultimately, I don't know what I don't know where these came from, but there's so many. So the first category is basically about techno, or about me, or about my character, and there's 3 here, which is nice. Thank you. So, first things first, where did the name Techno Dragon come from? So, I was a teenager. I was a teenager. I was like, actually, I think I was like 12 or 13, maybe even 11, when I first started this channel. And I wanted it to have something to do with dragons, but I wasn't sure what the other thing was. So my dad was just like, let's just call it Dragon Gaming Media, because we know that's what you're going to be doing. And I was like, okay. So that was like the placeholder name. But eventually I wanted to actually have a nickname that people could call me online. And I was like, well, I love music. I really, really love music. And I was deciding between 2 different names. The first one was Jazzy Dragon, because I was a jazz musician for a long time in school. I started playing saxophone when I was like 9, so I considered, okay, Jazzy Dragon, and then I was like, but I'm really into electronic music. I loved Monster Cat when I was a teenager. I still like Monster Cat a lot. I still listen to a lot of the artists from there, especially Pegboard Nerds. They're my favorite. But I was like, okay, well, how about I pick a genre of electronic music as well, and like compare what these 2 could be. And I was like, okay, electro, no. Dubstep, no. House, no. What about techno? And then I was just like, thought the name Techno Dragon was like, okay, cool, that's better. I decided the name Jazzy Dragon was gonna annoy the fuck out of me, so I went with Techno Dragon. And I have not changed that name in, like, it's been over 10 years. I have to have started going by this name for, like, it has to have been, like, 11 years, at least. It just stuck, and people, called me Techno. They called me Tech, and so I was like, okay, the plan worked. Okay, so the next question. How did you come up with your OC Techno? So this character has gone by the name Techno for a long, long time. Originally, it actually was a dragon. Like, full-blown dragon. It was a 4-legged, and, I just didn't know what I wanted the design to be. Like, I think it originally was like, black, super dark gray scales, with, I think it was golden spikes. Originally, it was, like, yellow. And then at one point, I decided that I gotta rep my color blue, and I wanted it to look a bit more neon, and I really like the color, like, neon cyan, or whatever this is, neon turquoise. So I, changed the character's color to that. That character was constantly going through redesigns and different outfits and stuff like that. Eventually they became more, they started standing on 2 legs instead of 4, full-on furry, basically, or scaly, rather, but they had a little bit fluff on them. But, eventually, that was, how long they stayed as a dragon for a long time. But, well, you see, I started seeing, a lot of pictures and videos of black cats online, and I just resonated with the idea of just curling up to a ball and disappearing. And then, having, the character's face, just vaguely appear if they happen to look up, or open their eyes, or open their mouth. I just loved that a lot, and I've also been raising cats for a long time. This has been a cat household for my entire life, basically. And, I did a lot of cat rescuing as well, and I just love cats. I love cats! And if there was, like, ever an animal that I, could see, like, a character representing myself as that wasn't a dragon, it was a cat. It was, like, basically what I did was I merged my top 2 favorites. And, I started, like, feeling less connected to the character that I had because I was changing so much. I was growing up and everything, and, I just decided I think I'm gonna change my character into a cat with some dragon qualities to it. Like the horns and the wings that are only visible sometimes, because I love character designs that don't show off everything they can do at a single sight, which is why I'm kind of... I was just about to make a very mean joke about gacha anime characters. Everything on display all the time. I'm very much like I like a character that's a pocket. So, there's that. And the other reason that Techno looks like this is because I wanted the character to be easier to draw, so that I could make stupid little memes with them more easily. And if anybody wanted to draw the character, it would be easier. I didn't, like, I've had my previous Sona drawn before, and I was just, it was, other people were drawing my Sona more than me, and I was like, that's a problem. So I decided I just wanted to be a silly little black cat. Okay, next one is actually about Techno's lore, which is, what is / are Techno's favorite universe or universes that they have visited? Oh my god. I have no idea. Oh my god. Because I don't want to have recency bias, first of all. So I read this question and I started, like, trying to think of, like, okay, what is the universe that they were, like, they felt the most at home at, that they felt the most immediately welcomed in? Because the whole point of Techno is, like, they change to try and blend in, but that's really difficult. And I was thinking, like, it can't be the Pico School one, because they kept having to change their form like 3 times. And then it can't be Carry On, because look at them. And then I don't know if it was Fancy Pants Adventures. It's maybe, I don't know. They had to change their form quite a bit. And Fancy isn't a big fan of cats. Fuck. It might have actually been Friday Night Funkin'. Because when you think about it, that is pretty close as well. Like, if you look at Friday Night Funkin' Techno and then you look at this Techno, it's like, that's probably where, like, the least amount of change was, first of all. And second of all, like, you could throw anything in there and it's pretty chill. Also, like, hello, boyfriend. I like the same color, basically. So, I guess the answer is Friday Night Funkin', which is funny. Also, music, yeah, that helps a lot. Alright, so that was the questions about Techno, basically. And now there is a huge section that is questions about creations and projects. Okay. So the first one is, how did you learn to make music? So, I actually started studying music as it was when I was 9 years old, and the concert band program was first offered at my school. Tiny little elementary school. And I chose the saxophone, the alto saxophone, and, like, 5 years, not even 5 years later, I decided I wanted to make my own music, and one thing that really inspired me to do that was Monster Cat. So I, like, started making my own music in, like, Note Flight-ish, right? Not really. It wasn't Note Flight, it was this drum machine called Hydrogen. I got that in, like, high school, and I started doing it there. And in Note Flight, I wanted to like arrange pieces of music that I liked, and then my teacher introduced me to a software called Sibelius, which he lended me a school computer on. And I basically what I'm getting at here is I learned to make music through music notation, through sheet music. And this guy I knew in high school, he told me about MuseScore, so I started making it in MuseScore. And then when I got into college, my professor told me about Dorico, and so I decided to switch to Dorico, and I've been using Dorico. And then when I was digging through my stuff recently, I found that my dad had gotten me a code for Cubase which is also made by Steinberg, which I had forgotten that we had gotten because I was like thinking about setting it up, but then like being like, I don't know how to set this up. And then I like just last week I set it up. So I learned to make music because I was already like studying music as a performance thing. I was in concert band, I was in jazz band, and I started taking, in like high school, I started taking music theory courses. I went to summer camps. I decided pretty early on in my teenage years that this was what I wanted to do. And I really wanted to make electronic music, but I needed to learn the ropes first, and I was just super committed to doing that. So, school basically is the answer. So the next question is, what does your creative process usually look like when making music? Okay, so the key word here is usually. It's pretty tricky to think how to answer this. Because when a lot of what I do for music is commission work. And usually what happens there is the person will send me like, I'll say like, hey, send me a song that you want this to sound like roughly. And like explain any details, any necessary instruments that you want in here, any necessary details, and let's just start cooking. And that's basically what that is. But when it comes to just making music on my own, sometimes I just hear a song and I think I want to make a song that sounds like that. Sometimes I'm just screwing around. I have this big keyboard, this big piano. It's a Yamaha Portable Grand that I will sometimes just be fiddling around with. And I'll accidentally make something cool, and I'll be like, oh my god, write that down. Or I'll come up with a melody in my head, and I'll like sing it into a voice note, and then come back to it later. And the first thing I will do is I'll plug the melody into Dorico, basically, and listen back to it and be like, okay, what else can we do here? What else can we add to what we're doing? And genre is just kind of a mystery every single time. Sometimes I'll even just be screwing around in Dorico, looking around through the instruments, and if I hear something cool, I'll decide I want to make a song out of it. Like, for example, with the song that's coming out soon, Urban Exploration, I made that track because I was screwing around with the drum machine that Dorico comes with that I am forgetting the name of for some reason. And I found this one kit that it had these little loops in them. It had the gling, 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 and all that other stuff all those little sounds in there. And I was jumping back and forth between two of them, and I was like, I want this to be the opening of a song. I want this to be actually the main part of a song. And while I was doing it, I still kind of am in a bit of a vaporwave / Mallsoft phase. So I was kind of like thinking about that while composing it, and the rest is history. So it's basically just like fuck around and find out, but in a good way. I screw around. If I hear something cool, I'll just see what I can turn it into. Though I do have this habit, I've noticed, of when I make songs, usually what I do is I create like the meat of it first before I go into like intro and all that other stuff, because I want to hear what I'm working towards sounds like. Like, I'll basically have the chorus first, and then I'll build off of that. A lot of people in music writing say that's a bit of a sin. I don't care. Anyway, so the next question is, what are your inspirations that help define your style? Now, I remember who asked this question. It was a fellow artist, Latte Tabby. And that's probably like the only person I'm going to call out during this Q&A, because I remember. um, but so I'm assuming that this is about art and not music. And I actually didn't know how to answer this question for a long time because inspiration for me is something that I kind of don't consciously think about. Like, when I'm doing something, I don't really think I want to mimic what this looks like. I just kind of just screw around and see what happens. I'm a very experimental person. Um, but then I realized, like, I remembered I had this conversation with someone else, who told me, like, hey, when I was watching Life of Pi Part 1, it reminded me of, like, cartoons from the 90s, where it was, like, the characters were, like, lower detailed and, you know, the hand-drawn kind of look to them. They had, like, black outlines, and then the backgrounds were, like, super detailed and painted and looked very nice. And I was like, oh my god, that's it. Like, that's what it is, like, I guess 90s, the 90s, the 90s and 90s inspired stuff. So, like, I really like The Lion King. I like Disney movies, from that era, so to speak. But, when it comes to style, I kind of think about it a lot. But another very obvious thing, and you kind of can see right when I got into it within my art, because I, like, started doing different things, Newgrounds. Like, I suddenly, like, when I looked at more Newgrounds stuff, especially after getting into Friday Night Funkin' and then going basically from there, going back to, I, like, had this big wave of nostalgia of, like, briefly visiting Newgrounds and being near Newgrounds related stuff a lot when I was younger, for better or worse, and honestly, mostly for better. I was a pretty good kid. I was pretty careful about where I was on the internet. So like, basically, whenever I draw something, or whenever I animate something, or when I make something, I'm kind of hoping that it gives off the vibe of, like, if an old school Newgrounds thing or something from the 90s was really trying to look pretty. So, yeah, basically, the answer is 90s and 90s inspired stuff. The next question is, how do you make such peak music? Well, thank you, first of all. So, as someone who does get occasionally asked for help about music and stuff, a lot of people will come to me and they'll have, like, this very specific thing they want to mimic. But they're not sure how. And usually it's because that's the only thing they listen to, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's a good idea to just expand your horizons a bit and listen to a lot of different stuff. Because, like I said, you never know where your inspiration is going to come from, and you might not even know that you're inspired by it when it happens. There's a lot of subtle things that go into understanding music. There's a lot of pattern recognition that you might not even realize that you're doing when you do it. And it's just one of those things that you kind of have to, like, explore and then just see what happens. Basically, you can't pour from an empty cup, is what I'm saying. And yeah, just basically listen to more music, and if there's ever something that you truly, like, want to understand, you cannot, I know this is generic as fuck, but you cannot give up. Just don't give up. Just be really committed to what you do. Have fun. Talk to other people, for the love of God. Talk to other people. Talk to other people about music and what you're doing. Share your artwork. Just go bananas. Do it. Alright, next question. How do you feel when people, like myself, get inspired by your own works and make something with it? Also, techno is best cat, to be honest. Flattery will get you nowhere. I'm just kidding. So honestly, I wasn't really used to it at first, but I was extremely happy very shortly afterwards. I love being the reason, or part of the reason, why people start to do art and stuff like that, or animation or music or anything. It makes me so happy, because as long as people are still, especially in this day and age, hint hint nudge nudge, it makes me super happy when people see what I'm doing and seeing me do it in such a primitive fucking way. And I want to make I want to make things more accessible. I want to make music especially more accessible. Um so that's why I like telling people about like the different softwares that are free and stuff, even if they're not what I use, because I want people to have the chance to at least try it and figure out if that's what they want to do and then continue to do it. So basically, I love it. I fucking love it when I help inspire people. Go for it. Go. All right, next question. What's been your favorite project? Have you ever walked up to a mother and asked her who her favorite kid is? I just I mean, I don't know. I have so many projects, but ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I actually genuinely don't know. It's like part of me wants to say Life of Pi, but the other part of me is like, it's fucking Life of Pi. That is such a huge project. I love it though. I love them all. I can't really. I don't really know if I have a favorite. Am I forgetting anybody? Yep, I have no idea. Okay. This is a series of questions. Okay, so this is about Fancy Pants Adventures. Yippee! One of my favorites. Wait a minute. Anyway, so, what is one of your favorite Fancy Pants fan art? Or you could answer with more than one. Okay, I don't know if this specifies... I don't know if this person meant, like, something that I've done or a piece of fan art that I've seen. And I admit, I completely forgot to... Like, I saw this question and I said, I should look through my favorite Fancy Pants fan art that I've saved on Newgrounds and, like, pick one. I don't know. I don't think I have an answer for if someone else's art, because there's so many great pieces of Fancy Pants fan art. I do... Oh! I do love, the work of Artistry, or T, in the Born Games Discord server. That's great stuff. I love that stuff. Mwah. But if I had to choose a favorite piece of my own, it's gotta be the time I drew Inky as a human for the first time. That piece, I had so much fun making it. I originally sketched it like on paper because I had already made a fancy Gaijinka or Gaijinka. What is it? I've never said it out loud. Is it Gaijinka? Gaijinka? I don't know. Human Fancy Pants. I did that one first, and then I did Inky, and then I changed the Fancy Pants design to look more like the Inky design because I was like, this is fucking gorgeous. I loved what I did. You could tell that I was like, I started like subtle, and then I just decided to go ape shit with that piece. I love that piece so much, and I love... Inky is one of my favorite characters. I love Inky. More Inky. Brad! More Inky! Now! Okay, next question. Same subject. How did you come up with your trans Fancy Pants headcanon? When you asked this question, I completely forgot. It hasn't even been a year, and I forgot entirely. I was like, oh god, how did I come up with that? But to basically, I remembered recently, it was like, I noticed that there were some themes it was projecting. I noticed that there was like a lot of themes of like doing your own thing, basically. And I connected that to the trans experience. Like, it was World 1 Remix that really got me like going like, oh hey, which was it was like, you know, the whole defying your creator thing is basically what it was. Not saying that like that's what it was, but it was like the theme of that connecting to it that made me like start thinking about it. There was something else I fucking forget. I swear to god there was something else and I completely forget what it was, but that was the start of it. Hi, this is Editor Techno from like 2 hours later. I remembered what the other thing was. It was seeing the development of Fancy Pants Man as a character that made me start to believe it. Well, that helped me come up with the idea, basically. Because when you first start out playing Fancy Pants Adventures, like the first game, and then you go chronologically, basically, it starts off very awkward, but like it knows what it wants to be, but it's still awkward. And then it goes into, like, in Super, it's like super comfy to play, and it feels to me like it's like an analogy for two things, in my opinion. The literal thing is Brad's getting better at what he's doing, but to me it almost creatively feels like an unintentional analogy for growing up and mastering your skills, and also just becoming more comfortable with who you are and what you're capable of and all these other things. And I, again, connected that to the trans experience. So that's what it was that I had realized that made me remember. And that's it. Of course, this is a little bit, I guess, nah, it's fine. It could happen over any amount of time. But yeah, that's what it was. Bye. Okay, next question. What is your favorite piece of Pico media, official or unofficial? Heroes of Pico School. Heroes of Pico School. Heroes of Pico School. Hands fucking down. That is like my absolute favorite. I love puzzle games, but I love everything about that game. It is, like, artistically, it looks awesome, and the music is awesome. They did extra music as well. They did B-sides, which was awesome, and the gameplay is awesome, and the game design itself is awesome, and the way that the characters are written and their interactions, they bothered to do that, is awesome. And I want to make a whole video about it, just talking about, like, the little things that I noticed about that game. I like to play that game and basically speed run it, but not like the full thing. That would take me too long. That's like something that I do. That's like something I do for fun. Like, I can play like the first few levels pretty fucking quickly, but even then, like, while I'm playing, I like sometimes forget like how to solve a puzzle, and I'll get stuck on a really easy puzzle that I used to be able to breeze through before, and I'll be like, huh. But I love that game so much. Go play it. It's on Newgrounds. Alright, next question. What led you to working on the soundtrack for a Bug Fables fan project / mod? So I'm in the Toxic Cesspit, and so is Helix, who's one of the artists, on Bug Fables Plus, and he's actually a moderator in, like, one of the bigger servers of the fan community. And after Life of Phi came out, he approached me and said, like, hey, we need music for, like, we need one track for Bug Fables Plus. I think it was a boss track. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was, it was, Mars's theme. That was the first one. Mars, god of something warfare, I forget the name, actually. But that was what that was. And I said, yeah, sure, I could do that. So I made that, and then he just kept coming back to me for various different things in Bug Fables Plus, and eventually it was like I had done enough to a point where it was like, okay, let's just get this person in the actual dev team. And that's how it happened. I have never actually played Bug Fables Plus, but, or Bug Fables at all. I've never actually played Bug Fables. But Helix did, amongst my pay, kindly gift it to me on Steam, to which I reciprocated and gave him, Fancy Pants Adventures Classic Pack and Super, and I think he's gotten, like, halfway through World 3 ever since. It was really funny watching him play it for the first time, because he said that World 2 was super frustrating, and I agreed. Like, playing World 2 for the first time is incredibly frustrating. But I digress. Once you get the hang of it, though, it's pretty good. Alright. What games do you want to analyze and make a video on? Well, obviously Heroes of Pico School first, as I already said. Um, I do want to talk more about Fancy Pants Adventures. Hell yeah, I want to talk about Fancy Pants Adventures. I have the whole list of Flash games to play that I'm still going through, but when it comes to Fancy Pants Adventures specifically, I want to talk about each game and I want to make little jokes about all the plots and stuff. And I also want to make a whole separate video just talking about the soundtrack, because Jesus Christ, you would be surprised how much little details there are in this thing. I want to talk about Pico School, like the original one, versus Love Conquers All, and like compare the details of those two. I want to talk about a lot of Newgrounds stuff, basically. I want to talk about Newgrounds Rumble. And specifically the gun power-up. There's some weird shit about that gun power-up I want to talk about. I want to get more into talking about Friday Night Funkin'. But the particular parts I want to talk about is, like, musical terminology and stuff, and, like, how it's had an effect on that. But the problem with a lot of talking about Friday Night Funkin' is I would have to, like, study the fandom, and that is a fucking landfill of worms. That's not a can of worms, that's a landfill. It's so unbelievably vast that it's just like, I don't know if I'd be able to cover that, because I'm the kind of person who likes to cover niche shit, like little things that just go deep. Which is like, also, part of me wants to talk about Newgrounds Rushdown Rivals as well, because niche is good, and that's just full of niche references, which also leads me to wanting to talk about Larry and the Gnomes, because Jesus fucking Christ, Larry of Carry On, Larry and the Gnomes, Larry Little Frickin' Night, Larry, just like, that is a fucking, you would not believe the things I found about Larry. It's crazy. And like other works that Jazza has done that kind of circle around Larry or are vaguely related to it. It's fascinating. But yeah, I want to talk about more Newgrounds stuff, and I might revisit The Adventures of Bleeposaurus Dragon's Fire. Next question. Will you make soundtracks for indie games if they hire you? Absolutely. That's the goal. That is the objective. I've already done Frick Frack 2. Frick Frack 2, in the over 10 years that I have been doing my own compositions, was the first time that I had a credit on an indie game that released. Like, I've done stuff for mods and stuff like that. Like, I did Bug Fables Plus, and I did, like, one Friday Night Funkin' mod. I put one song on a Friday Night Funkin' mod that was, like, there's this kid that I met in the Fancy Pants Adventures server, and he wanted to learn music, and I wanted to learn how to do Friday Night Funkin' stuff, so we made an agreement to be like, okay, let's teach each other this stuff. And then, but he had a mod idea, and he was like, let's just do this as a start. So I did some art, and I did one song for it. And in return, I'm, like, learning about Friday Night Funkin' stuff, which is super cool. And you're gonna have to find it. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but you're gonna have to find it. And you can hear the one song, because I'm never posting it until it's commonly known. Because I like guessing games, and I think that's funny. So, I like making things inconvenient for people when it comes to finding work that I've done. Unless it's, like, something that I want to sell. But when it comes to shit like that, I'm like, it would be funny if this is, like, this one little tiny thing I did. I just hide it. And I tell people, you can find it. You've already found it by the time I'm bragging about it, haven't you? You probably just, like, did a really easy search and found it. But anyway, yeah, the goal is indie games. Like, I have done many soundtracks for, like, different things in the past. Like, that just never saw the light of day. There are so many tracks of mine that I have never posted publicly. There are some that have been posted publicly, but they're just really old. But yeah, I do want to do more indie game stuff, so indie game folks, if you want a soundtrack, please, 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 thank you. Okay, so this question didn't really fit into a lot of categories. This one, it says, what is your favorite game to play mods with? I have some bad news. I'm an idiot and I can barely get mods working. And so really the only time I have genuinely played a mod on a game is Minecraft. I I guess the answer is Minecraft because I've played mods before and gotten them working with help. So there's this last section of questions. There's 4 left. And every single one of them is about Life of Fi. I made a whole section for Life of Fi and I saved it for last. But anyway. So, what made you make Life of Fi? It's so funny. It's actually a really funny answer. So, back in 2024, it was like my last year of college, of university. And I started really getting into the toxic cesspit because I got really sick in February while I was like working on my big capstone project with a bunch of people. And like I was in bed and I was just like, I found this new YouTuber. Maybe I should watch more of his videos, cuz like I saw Fiznom exploded in like August of last year badly, and I decided in an act of rebellion to like just follow him, just because I was like, I decided for myself instead of just following a crowd of people that say it's bad or whatever, and just to follow him myself because I ended up liking his videos. And the more I looked at Fi, the more I was like, this character is so fucking cool looking, and it was like tingling all of the little inspiring, desperate to move on from this thing that I'm currently working on brain. And I was like, I'm gonna compose a song about her, and I did. And that was Green. That was Green. In like 2 months or so, I made Green, and I released it like April of that year, or May or whatever. Actually, I think it was like May. I think it was like right after I graduated, I said, bam. There it is. And yeah, I put out Green, and the reason I made Green was because I wanted to make something about Fi the Toxic Slime, and I wanted it to be done. I wanted it to be satisfied with it, but then I just kept getting the itch. That itch of like, oh, I started learning the lore about her, and I started getting ideas, basically. I started, like, thinking, ooh, this would be cool. Ooh, ah, ee, ah, ee, ooh, ah. And the next thing I knew, I had the Notepad app open, and I was writing shit down. And I was like, it would be cool if this theme represented that, and this, that, and the other thing. But there's not really much I can elaborate on past this point without spoiling Life of Fi. But basically, I was just, like, I had a really tough June that year. I had a horrible, disabling anxiety attack that left me in a horrible state, and I had nothing to do but work. So then I was just hauling ass on this project, and the next thing I knew, I made a 7-minute animation. So it was basically just like a combination of desire to move on, desire to get better, and just a perfectly timed blurbo being put in front of my face at that moment. Okay, next question. How many slimes are you including in Life of Fi? A rough estimate is fine. Okay, so the way that this worked, or works, is at first, when I first started working on Life of Fi Part 2, when I first decided about this, I kept this basically within the Toxic Fan Sewer Discord server, because I kind of wanted to keep it low a little bit. I wanted to, like, make it so that it's like, okay, let's just get a couple people in here to fill in a little bit of space that I have, because I need more slimes to appear in the background, for the fuck of it. And I thought, why would I go out of my way to make so many different characters when I can just ask people to send in their designs? Because that's part of the community. It would be fun. It would be cool. So I made a Google form, and I just asked, like, some necessary questions based on what I planned on happening within what is now parts 2 and 3, but basically in part 2. And the next thing I knew, I had 40 responses. And I was like, oh, shit. So, well, okay. So, at least 40. But, like, that was not the only time. If you're sitting there like, oh no, I missed it because I wasn't there at the time, don't worry, that is not the only time. I do plan on opening the forums again, but I have to make like a whole different form for like plot reasons and stuff. But it's not gonna be for a while. I'll expand it to Blue Sky as well. I will ask on Blue Sky, and I'll probably make a post on here too, talking about it. So once I do that, honestly, it'll probably, if it doubles, I swear to fucking Christ. But there is gonna be a lot of slimes appearing, at least 40. I don't know how many more will come from that. I cannot make a good guess of that. All right. When you made Life of Phi, did you expect it to get as popular as it did? No. I did not. I remember the vibe of when I was working on it and I was sharing works in progress. There was like a vibe around, it was mainly, I think it was on Blue Sky and also on fucking Discord. And I feel like people were like, oh, this person is making this animated like Phi lore thing. Let's see how far they get. It was like, they weren't sure if I was gonna finish, and honestly, nor was I. But I was determined, and I was like, I'm gonna finish this first part, and we'll see how it goes. And then it came out, and like, holy shit, there was a flood of responses, all positive, which is great. And so like, people really liked it. Like, it was Helix, it was you! Helix pinned it to like the creative channel of the Toxic Fan Sewer. It got so much positive response, people fucking loved it. I remember, like, I was active in that community, but I wasn't really super familiar with a lot of people there. And so what happened after that was like a couple weeks later, or a week later, very recently, but not mere days after I posted that, I saw that there was a voice call going on at one point with like someone was streaming, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should get more involved in this community, and I joined, and the next thing I fucking knew, everyone was like, oh my god, it's Techno Dragon, you did so great on Life of Pi, that was so good. I was like, oh boy. I couldn't make out a single fucking word other than I knew I could barely make out what people were saying, and it was hilarious, and we're all friends now. But basically, it was overwhelmingly positive in the most literal sense of the words. And so I just like, that really truly motivated me to keep going with it and to actually improve on like the stuff that I was putting out, and like look into new tools and stuff and new softwares that could help me like make me make this thing better. So thank you all for that tremendously. And also, it's like part of the reason why I have so many commissions, so triple thank you, double thank you, whatever the fuck, I don't know. I lost count. I can't count to 4. Alright, this is the last question. How many parts are you planning to make for your Life of Phi series? Also, your OC is adorable. Thank you. Or so adorable. That's important. The word so is included in that. Thank you. So, originally, Life of Phi Part 1 was gonna be like 7 minutes, and it was. And then Part 2 was gonna be like twice the size. It was gonna be like 15 minutes, based on like the recording estimation, and that was not on purpose when I wrote it, but when I recorded it, I was like, oh shit, okay, I guess we're doing this. Problem. The problem with that was that I got a job, and that was in addition to commissions, I got a fucking real job that paid $17.25 an hour in retail, over the phone retail, for realsies. And that was the worst mistake I've ever made in my entire life. I decided that I wasn't sure, it was a seasonal job, so I wasn't sure if I was going to get that job again. I did. Just so you know. And so what I decided to do was I decided to tackle 40 hours a week. Don't do that. I decided to tackle 40 hours a week, and that was from months of like halfway through November to halfway through January. Hello. Christmas time. That was a horrible fucking mistake. I don't know why I did that. My therapist agrees that that was a fucking mistake. And so when I did it again this year, I started in September and I went until December. I don't know why. I don't know why they started me in September this year, but I'm not complaining too much. But, because I don't have to do fucking Christmas returns. So, like, I decided to do 24 hours instead. And even then, it was pretty fucking demanding because by the time that I was, like, done, I was just like, I don't want to do anything. But, so part 2, that's all to say that I was suddenly super occupied. And in addition to that, even though it was over a brief time, it was like a month's worth of work is a stupid amount of work. It's crazy how much a month has within it. It's insane. So, like, there was a big delay on it, basically. I remember it during the work, I would, like, be trying to close out the remote desktop and just, like, minimize it so that I could work on a background of Life of Phi, and it was just, I was getting phone call after phone call after phone call, automatically answered, by the way. I could not, like, say, like, hold that. I had to go straight into it. I could barely do fucking anything. And so, you know, it was kind of that experience, I guess, if there's anything positive to come out of it besides the money, is that it made me realize that part 2 was never gonna fucking come out if I kept it that way. It was gonna take years. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up cutting it in half. And what didn't help also is that, as you've seen, it opens with 3 fully colored in human characters that I am trying to kill off as quickly as possible. I'm not afraid of spoiling that. Those bitches gonna die. Like, I'm not afraid about it. Because that's the whole point. They are literal cannon fodder. They are going to die. And, like, that was tough. But I was also trying to, like I said, with Life of Phi Part 1, I was trying to expand and what the task that I was doing. I was trying not to cut too many corners. I was trying to do enough. I was trying to make things look better. I was experimenting. I was cutting corners, but like I said, not too much. So basically, that's all to say. There's a good chance that the original planned amount, which was like 6 or 7 parts, was then going to double. It's probably gonna come out to like 12. Probably. I don't know if the other parts, because I haven't voiced them out yet, because they're still kind of like possibly going to be tweaked. They're still in written form, but the written is like, I don't know how much of them I'm gonna change. I haven't voiced them. So 12 is the current estimation. And I want to say that now that I've gone through all of that and I'm still, like, tweaking shit, I want to say that part 2 is halfway done, but it won't take me nearly as long to do it because I'm figuring things out, first of all, and second of all, it's gonna be just the slimes being animated. I don't have to animate those fucking people. It's like, it's ridiculous. And also, I've changed to Ibis Paint for, I almost called it IBS Paint. To Ibis Paint for, a lot of what I'm doing. So things are gonna move faster. Jesus! So that was the last question. Oh my god. I've been recording for like an hour now. I'm very tired. And my voice is going to be gone because I just had a friend over and my voice was gone already. My god. Alright. Thank you so much for the Q&A, for the questions. This has been a lot of fun. I'm gonna start posting stuff now. I'm gonna edit this down, and then I'm gonna post more stuff. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. I'm gonna go drink some water. You should too. Bye!